Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and I want you all to know that this is going to be the last video that I am making on the topic of this whole Jameis Winston suspension slash Uber incident, at least until we can get more information on the matter, be it from the NFL, from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or maybe even Jameis Winston himself. But for right now, this is going to be the last video that I'm making on this topic. So in today's video, we're going to be giving you an update on the situation, so kind of what new information and kind of how I've been able to piece it together, as well as the current divide, not just among Bucs fans, but among Bucs media as well. And we're going to be analyzing both sides of why you should possibly support Jameis Winston, as well why you should possibly oppose Jameis Winston. So to start, the first thing I want to start with is giving you guys a little bit of an update on this situation. So previously in my first video, we talked about the information that I was given was that there was only one Uber ride, that Jameis Winston and Ronald Darby had both said that, this was the only Uber ride that had occurred and nothing happened. Ronald Darby had said that he was in the back seat, and then nothing happened. Jameis Winston wasn't even in the back seat, wasn't even in the front seat. Sorry, it was the third passenger who was with them, and then nothing happened. Jameis Winston also came out and said that this was the case, and now under new information of Brandon Banks, who is actually currently in jail because of rape charges, he has come out and stated that that was not true. Well, that was true to a certain degree. There were actually two Uber rides. The first one that did involve Ronald Darby, Jameis Winston, and Banks, and then a second Uber ride where Jameis Winston left by himself. So to kind of recap here, Darby, Winston, and Banks all rode to a club in Arizona, and then Winston left in an Uber by himself. So there were two Uber rides, one with all three men being in the car and one with Jameis Winston being in the car by himself. So we can all assume that this second Uber ride is definitely going to be the one in question where this groping possibly occurred. Now, this is kind of a big deal because Jameis Winston and Ronald Darby, neither one of them mentioned this second Uber ride that involved just Jameis Winston as well as the Uber driver. So it definitely brings more to a situation of, did they lie, or did they withhold information voluntarily? We don't know which. We don't know. And that's kind of one of the things that I want to talk about first, which is why you should support Jameis Winston, because that, like I said, there's this divide, because there's a divide not only with the fans, but with the media. People have actually recently come out and started attacking local media members such as Greg Auman, such as Rick Stroud, such as Tom Jones, especially Tom Jones, considering he actually just came out with an article recently for the Tampa Bay Times saying the next step for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is simple: get rid of Jameis Winston. Now, how things are currently going right now, I actually don't know if that is the best option, just flat out getting rid of Jameis Winston without knowing all of the information, but it's very tough to call on whether or not you should support Jameis Winston or you should oppose him. And I'm going to be talking about both sides here because the fans are really torn, especially in the comments section of my last video. Fans just were absolutely arguing with each other, and that's fine. You guys can argue with each other. It's a very controversial situation, and I don't blame you. Us as fans were very passionate, and I want us to try and come more together and try and figure out what's going on and try and figure out a collective decision to make. So reasons to, I guess, support Jameis Winston first off. Well, the first reason is that we actually don't know all the details and who is telling the truth. So, like I said, just explaining the situation earlier, there were two Uber rides. So did Jameis Winston and Ronald Darby lie? Well, no, technically not, but they did possibly withhold information if this instance of a second Uber ride where Winston rode by himself is true. Again, we don't know who's telling the truth right now. Darby and Winston could have possibly withheld information, or the third person, Banks, could have possibly been lying. There might have not even been a second Uber ride. We have no idea. Banks is currently serving currently serving 15 years in prison for rape charges from Vanderbilt, I believe. I can't remember if it was Vanderbilt or not, but we don't know. Maybe he, we don't know. We do not know any of the details. Or all of the details, I guess I should say. We don't know who's telling the truth. It's either Winston or Darby are lying, or Banks and the Uber driver are lying. And that's a very tricky situation. I'm not going to try and make a judgment call on that because I have no idea. But there might not even have been a second Uber ride. Obviously, the NFL and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to look at the surveillance footage, if there is any, to try and figure out if Jameis Winston does leave the club and get into a second Uber ride by himself. And even if he does get in a second Uber ride by himself, does he get in the front seat or get in the back seat? That's a very loaded situation in of itself. But right now, that's kind of a reason to support Jameis, is we don't even know what's happening fully yet. So we can't, it's tough to make a judgment call. Another reason that a lot of people have been providing, and this one's a little iffy for me, this one's a little like, I don't know, man, is we knew this might happen when we drafted him. So it's like, throw up your arms and we knew this might happen, so, you know, whatever. And a lot of people actually go back and they say like, oh, well, if Ray Lewis killed a man or if Ben Roethlisberger raped a woman, then can we really, can we really get that mad at Jameis? And that's a very loaded situation. If this happened, I think it's inexcusable for Jameis Winston. If it happened, then, you know, it's a bad call. It's a bad move, Jameis. And I don't necessarily agree with the point of, oh, well, if Big Ben can do this and Ray Lewis could do this, then Jameis Winston can do this. Well, no, none of that's okay then, and that doesn't make it any more okay. I will say this is, yeah, everybody knew the risks whenever we drafted Jameis Winston. The fans knew the risks, the coaching staff knew the risk, the general managers knew the risk, the owners knew the risk. Everybody signed off on that. So, you know, yeah, everybody knew the risk, and you know, that's something that everybody has to kind of own up for, not from the coaching staff all the way up to the Glaziers. Everybody has to admit to that. Like, they all knew. And then another reason is that people, a lot of people say that, like, oh, people are just overreacting because of his immature past. They're attacking Jameis Winston because of minor things that he's done in the past, like stealing crab legs from Publix, telling little girls to be quiet, which that situation is definitely iffy for sure, in my opinion. You know, getting up on a table and yelling provocative or profanity on top of that table. And then the big one is the rape allegations that happened at FSU, where FSU did end up paying a woman. Paying a woman, and Ronald Darby was a alibi in that case as well. So that's a big reason to oppose Jameis Winston. I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. But a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, people are just really attacking him now because of his immature past. And I will say that is happening to a certain degree, where people are saying oh, look at this, Jameis Winston's done it again. You know, get rid of him. And I think that's a little unfair to a certain degree. I feel that the Buccaneers should, you know, I think everybody should go with the flow, go with the process, you know, just really go with it. And just look at all of the details were given, all the facts were given, and just kind of go from there. I will say that is a little bit of an attack, I guess you could say, because of his past. But another reason, however, is a lot of people say that Jameis can move past this with better decision making because he has a family to support now. He just had a son, and a lot of people are saying he can move past this. He's constantly growing, and he's constantly trying to become a better person. I think that's another decent point as well. It's like, well, yes, Jameis Winston, you know, he does have some stuff to work on in terms of who he hangs out with, and he definitely has to make better decisions, not just for himself, but for his family as well. But, moving on to reasons to oppose Jameis Winston's. Now, like I said, Tom Jones of the Tampa Bay Times even called for cutting him under these current circumstances. No, shouldn't happen. I don't think you should cut Jameis Winston without getting all the details first. If this did happen and he is and it is proven that he did grope this Uber driver, well, that's a different story. I don't know. But a lot of people are saying, you know, to just you know, oppose Jameis Winston, is he shouldn't even be in this situation to begin with. And fair point. Jameis Winston shouldn't be in this situation to begin with under any circumstances. You know, even if you are heavily intoxicated and whatnot, it's not a very good look if, you know, you're heavily intoxicated and just your one of your natural instincts is just to kind of like grope a woman. Not a very good look, in my opinion. That's not very good at all. So I get it if he was heavily intoxicated. You know, people do dumb things whenever they're heavily intoxicated, but groping women shouldn't be one of those dumb things, you know. And he, like I said, he's a former #1 overall pick. He's a big time guy. He's supposed to be a franchise quarterback. he really shouldn't be in this situation at all. Another claim, another reason to oppose him is that, there's a lot of things going against Darby and Winston's claims. Like I said, the whole FSU thing, that kind of ties into this as well. It's like, well, they paid off the first lady. The FSU paid off. Sorry, I keep on using that term. But FSU, they went back and, they had to give money to this one woman. Why would you have to give money to this one woman if Jameis Winston was innocent? So that kind of ties in a little bit with this. And also, Darby and Winston might have being the key phrase there, might have withheld information, and that would be really bad if they did. But right now, with Banks coming out and saying, yes, there were 2 Uber rides, ooh, that makes things a lot more muddier, doesn't it? Because now you're sitting there thinking like, well, okay, who's lying? Like, what happened here? Was there only 1 Uber ride, or were there 2 Uber rides? That makes the situation that much more trickier. And the next reason, like I said, and like people have been saying, Jameis Winston does have a history of being a very immature, bad decision-making-esque person. Taking out the whole elementary school one, because that one is just not very viable in my opinion. People have been pointing to that one. That one I think is just people taking Jameis Winston's slip of the tongue, or even taking something he said out of context and that. Anyway, but removing that one, though, you still have a lot of stuff. He stole crab legs. That's a bad one. I work at a Publix, okay? You don't steal crab legs. But no, seriously, just going from stealing stuff when you're in college, that's still not a good look in my opinion. That's just very immature and just shows, dude, you're not very good at decision making sometimes. Getting on a table and shouting profanity while you're at FSU and you're supposed to be the best quarterback at FSU and lead this team to greatness, still not a good thing either. You shouldn't do that if you're a grown man. I'm around the same age as Jameis Winston. I wouldn't think to do that, man. Like, why? I wouldn't think to do that at all. I'm the same age Jameis Winston was then whenever he made that decision, and I don't sit there and think like, I'm gonna jump on this table and yell some profanity. So it's not a very good look in my opinion as well. And then the whole FSU rape incident, that one's a lot more serious of a matter, and without getting into many details about that, yeah, it definitely does show that Jameis Winston does have a history of being accused of these types of situations. So it's a really muddy past that Jameis Winston has, just filled with immaturity and then even some darker stuff. So it definitely doesn't help his case in this current instance under any circumstances. And then for the final reason, the Buccaneers have invested so much in Jameis Winston. He's a former #1 overall pick. We just picked his up as 5th-year option. He's supposed to be the franchise guy for this team. And right now, he's being a really big headache, and he's being a really big distraction for this team. The Buccaneers are getting a lot of national media coverage for this, and it's not good coverage because the face of this franchise right now is getting a really bad look. And I'll be honest, the media are tearing Jameis Winston apart, and a lot of it's, maybe a little bit of it is deserved, maybe a little bit, but not a lot of it. A lot of it's really iffy in my opinion. Guys are saying like, no, you're wrong if you think this, and I'm not going to name names, but guys are out there saying that, specifically for the Tampa Bay Times, but that's none of my business. But guys are out there saying these types of things, and not everybody. I actually very much respect Greg Auman's opinions. I feel he's been very level-headed about this, so definitely shout out to Greg Auman. But there are some guys out there who are possibly overreacting just to get some clicks, and just kind of saying like, they should get rid of Jameis Winston just to get some clicks. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's very unnecessary, but at the same time, I don't think Jameis is fully innocent here, because he did get himself in this situation, and he shouldn't be in this situation to begin with. So it's a really muddy situation and kind of a boneheaded thing for Jameis. So just to give you guys my opinion here, which side do I support? Do I support Jameis Winston, or do I oppose Jameis Winston? Do I think everybody's overreacting, or do I feel that the Buccaneers should cut Jameis Winston? Well, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'll give my opinion on this. I don't have all the details yet, and until proven guilty, Jameis Winston is innocent to me. I will support Jameis Winston until I am proven otherwise. And I think that's going to be the case with the Glazers as well, and just overall the Buccaneers organization. Until they are proven otherwise, they are going to show Jameis Winston support, and I'm in the same boat as people who are like that. bottom line is we don't have all the details yet. There might have been a second Uber ride, but there might not have been. If it is a case where there wasn't a second Uber ride and Banks was lying and Jameis Winston and Ronald Darby were right, then that definitely opens up the situation more. It's also been reported that Jameis Winston isn't going to appeal this situation, which definitely adds a little bit more to like, why isn't he going to appeal it then? Who knows? Who knows? But as of right now, I am going to give my support to Jameis Winston until I am proven otherwise, which could very well easily happen like tomorrow or something. Who knows? But all in all, guys, we're probably not going to get any updated information about this for a little while anyway. So for right now, we just kind of got to sit here, twiddle our thumbs, and just deal with it, you know? Happy dead part of the off season, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about the situation down in the comment section below, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. You know, leave a like if you do enjoy the content. As always, thank you so much for watching. And I hope I explained this situation well enough for you guys and gave you both sides of the argument. You know, why you should trust Jameis Winston, or why you should support Jameis Winston, and why you shouldn't support Jameis Winston. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.